You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. Once again, we are here today, and just like any other time, we have another awesome show for y'all lined up today. Today, we have a true honor talking to Donna Kendrick. She has an amazing website you can go to. It's Kendrick.com. We're going to talk about her amazing story. She has a powerful story. Started in 2013. She had a life-changing event that had to do with her husband. Her husband, Greg, passed away suddenly and leaving her as a widow with 3 young children. But that story doesn't end there. She has a courageous story that navigates through a lot of trials, and she has been able to come to the top. She has a lot of books out that we're going to be diving into. But first and foremost, I want to say to you, not just thank you for your time today, but appreciate you being here. How are you doing, Donna?
Doing well. Thank you for that sweet introduction. Much appreciated.
Well, I can go another 20 minutes on your bio, but for the sake of time, when you look at the opportunities that you've been able to have to not just share your story on multiple platforms, you have some books that are coming out in the future, coming soon. People can go to your website to check out those books at DonnaKendrick.com. But when it comes to what you've been through, kind of tell us a little bit of the backstory before we go deeper into your books.
Yeah, I mean, so I'll try to make it as quick as I can, but just for reference for anyone from Philadelphia, born and raised there. So hoot hoot to anyone from Philly. But yeah, I was the daughter of a Philadelphia firefighter. My husband, Craig, was a son of a Philadelphia cop. And it just kind of shows that we just kind of grew up from the means that we had, right? Both of our moms are stay-at-home moms, and we just learned how to work hard, had some work ethic, and to survive. But we didn't really know a whole lot about finances. We didn't know a whole lot about raising kids or our family, but we just jumped in to do it ourselves. Wound up expanding our careers, gave up my career to follow him abroad. He worked for the embassy in Rome through Homeland Security, and then came back home probably around 2011, back to the Philadelphia area, 2013. So all of that means in those 7 years, we had to grow up, learn how to manage our finances, learn how to raise our kids not speaking English in a different country. And I made some missteps on my own by giving up my career, giving up my line of credit, right? Because I had all of my credit cards in his name. And it wasn't even a misstep at the time. It was wonderful, be able to raise my kids. But then in 2013, after we moved to the Philadelphia area, about 3 months later, he passed away suddenly. He had taken his life, and it was tough. I was emotionally just broken. I realized that once we canceled all the credit cards, I had no line of credit because I was just an authorized user on his cards, and I didn't know what to do next. I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know how to support ourselves. And that's when you learn how to lean in. So really, I leaned into my community, this brand new community I had moved into, and really had to lean on my family for a while there, right? Of being able to help us to make ends meet. But we were lucky enough that early on we had worked with a financial planner that got us this key thing called life insurance. So life insurance kind of pulled through at the end of it. And that would allowed me to raise my kids and keep my house. But I had to figure out what to do next. And want me to keep going with the story?
Oh, go ahead, because
okay.
If you can, if I could jump in real fast, when you decide to relaunch your career, I mean, that takes a little bit of boldness and also like, okay, it's time to turn to another chapter. What was that process like for you personally to try to mentally prepare yourself for this new relaunch?
Yeah, I will tell you the very first year after we lost Greg, I was 40 years old. My kids were 8, 11, and 12. Again, one of them learned to speak English in school now. And I really was like, what am I going to do? So I became what I call the brave widow. Like, I wasn't going to let this thing catch me. I was just running full speed. If anyone asked how are Donna and the kids, the answer had to be, they are doing great. She's amazing. That was great. And then year 2 hit and it all fell apart. I was a puddle. I was a mess. I stalled out. But what I did know is that I had to get back to work. I had to start making an income. I wasn't going to let my kids not see me as that person in year 1, right? That person that was just put on her big girl panties and got going. So I really took a deep assessment. I was educated. That was the lucky thing I had underneath me. And I thought, like, what was most impactful over the last 2 years since we had lost Greg? And if I was going to flip my career on its head, which I had to do, I had to go back to work and start earning again. I was going to make it worth something. It was going to take this experience of his loss and make some lemonade out of the lemons. And I really looked back and was like, what helped me most was a financial advisor I found after Greg's loss, who really helped me slow my roll, realize how long could I lay in my puddle if I needed to, and not really earn too much, because I did have some Social Security coming in to help the kids. And how long could I keep my house if I didn't go earning? And that really set some financial goals for me. And I'm a person that will pick herself up when I have a goal to achieve, and just dug in. But then I realized that if I went back and served the community that I just came from, that widowhood of being so confused about finances, personally, making huge decisions while in grief, how do you do that? How do you add a little love back into financial planning? I reached out to that advisor and said, I want to do what you did for me, for other people, to slow the roll, to make sure they could do immediate decisions, ones that could be transitional, ones that could be long-term. Went back to school, worked part-time at my kids' school while going back to school, studied, got my credential, did my mentorship, and off I went. Now I have a whole practice that is about helping families in transition with their finances, widowhood, divorce, blended families. But more than that, I wrote 2 books in those past few years to make sure that people who might not be able to afford a financial advisor, people that might just want to learn a little more on their own, people who want to get their knowledge base up before they go and sit with an advisor, people who want to be able to talk at the Thanksgiving table and tell Uncle Bobby he's full of blankety blank. I wanted to make sure they had that book in their resources. And that was a big push of mine when 2020 came and all of these people were losing spouses, right? And in grief with no support because they couldn't leave their houses. That's that.
Well, once again, listen to Army Focus Radio, talking to our special guest today, Donna Jean Kendrick. Go to her website, DonnaJeanKendrick.com. When you look at being a bestseller on Amazon, I mean, after all this stuff you've been through, switching careers, relaunching, rebranding yourself, you also you hit the lottery ticket in the author world because your book, A Guide to Widowhood, Navigating the First 3 Years, became #1 bestseller. How did it feel for you to be able to have that such impactful response from people, just not just appreciating your story from your book, but just the knowledge that you were able to pass forward? Because that takes a lot of time and energy to invest in, to put yourself out there.
Yeah, it did. And it took a lot of them was stepping outside of yourself, right? Like the little old me would be like, oh no, I'm not an author. I have a degree in statistics. I can't write. And I really realized that what you have to do is surround yourself with people who can. Pardon me. A lot of it is making sure that you say what you want to do. You put it out there in the universe. And I always tell the truth, not a liar. So if I say I'm going to write a book to really help some widows because I can see the struggle, well, then I'm going to do it because I said it out loud. And then I'm going to put that out there and see, who do I know who has a friend who is an editor? Who do I know who's really good with commas? Who do I know who's really constructive and can give criticism and won't hurt my feelings at the same time, right? Like you put that out there and then people know people. And that's the amazing thing about this community that we all live in, is when you reach out to your community, whether it be people that are also writing books or whether it be a bunch of widows, right? The amount of widows that were willing to sit and share their story with me so I could learn from them, because I only know my own experience. What were their trials and tribulations? How did their family handle it? How did they keep their heart and soul intact while navigating all of this? That's when it all comes clear. That's really when it starts to work together. And when you have that faith of the people that help you build that book, that's the momentum, right? You can feel the energy, even though it's you sitting there on an early Saturday morning, not going out and having any fun that day because you're writing and you have a deadline. But it's okay, right? These are the people that will encourage you. You'll do it for them, and they'll be the people you can bounce ideas off of. That was the best. It really was.
And you also are the author of the book that's out now that people can get right now is A Guide for Blended Families, Merging Assets and Navigating Financial Challenges. But you have like 3 more other books that are coming out in the future. So now that you have been bitten by this writing bug, how far you think you're going to keep going with publishing?
With my publisher, at least these. So we're going to have those done. But what I really learned too is, a lot of it is, obviously I add a little love back into financial planning. Some of the key core points of that Widowhood book of navigating your finances really do apply to blended families. And those core points really do apply to a divorced family or someone heading towards divorce. But no one who's going to be heading towards divorce is going to pick up a widow book, right? So how do you go and get those same key core principles of finances, but make it really relatable to where this family is going, where this couple is going, and to be able to share that through experience and stories. The Blended Family book came out of my own experience. I got remarried 2 years ago, and actually my current husband was one of the people who was my biggest fan at putting the Widowhood book out. Like, he was the one that we have 6 kids between us. He would watch all of the kids so I could just write. He would just take things off my plate. He was a proofreader. He was the person sitting on Amazon trying to capture the pictures of bestseller. Like, he was really in on it with me. Left his own career to be an admin for me. Like, that's what he did. That's that selfless love. So when we moved into blending families, and navigating those financial conversations, again, that was another conversation that had to come from the heart, because here I was, the one with almost all the financial experience, the good ones and the bad, blending a family and being fiercely protective of my assets because of what had happened to me in 2013. Do you think I played fair when we were blending families? I was becoming very protective, very selfish, and very stubborn. And I had to get out of my own way. And my new husband and I, Jim, had to find a way to find that common ground, to share our new goals, right? And to protect what was mine, what was his, what's our kids, what's ours, and really put those definitions in. So each of these books comes from experience. So the next book's going to be about divorce. And I hope that doesn't come from my own experience, but that's going to come from really interviews with a lot of people that I know, a lot of my own clients, and what were their experiences? What did it feel like to be in their skin when you were asking for the divorce? How do you feel like you have to protect your finances? Or how do you feel like you want everyone to be equitable and fair? How do we present those decision-making processes, and what steps should people take? Who's in their back pocket? Do you have a divorce doula? Do you have a negotiator? Do you have an arbitrator? Do you have a kick-ass lawyer? What do those roles play with? Can you do it on your own? Those are those things that we want to put out there for someone just to educate themselves on the sly. So,
when you look at your mission and your career, being able to have such success as yourself individually, but you said it earlier about having a support system, your husband, your new husband, and just having that available, having that in your back pocket. That is what helps us to lean on someone when we're going through some difficult days. When it comes to balancing the personal side of your life versus your busy professional side, was some of the things that you've learned over the years now that you're in this whole new level?
One thing I will have to always reiterate, because it is that battle of not that feeling of community that helps provide this. The one thing I always remember in a professional nature as well as personal, and it bridges my life, is to always give first. Don't ever ask to get. Give of yourself first. Give for free. Give where you can. Help where you can, because I do believe in the reciprocity of it, just because of putting that out and energy out there. That being said, you always hear the word manifestation, right? And I do have a little bit of woo in my back pocket and spirituality. That's all been new in my life. So that's something that's very personal. But I don't think someone can just say, I'm going to manifest it, sit there and meditate twice a day. You have to have some hard work. You have to have some grit behind it. You can have those intentions and push them forward. But I find too, sometimes, I'm going to be very honest, we just got done what we call tax season, right? So that's a lot of work in the financial industry. 18-hour days. It's not uncommon for me, but I always have to ground myself. And so I ground myself a few ways. I do what's called miracle morning. Have you ever heard of that? So it's a process, and there's a book out there and podcasts and everything. But you spend time in your morning, one, making sure you hydrate, making sure that you are journaling or scribing every day, making sure that you're exercising every morning. You have to get this all done before 8 a.m. Make sure that you meditate, make sure that you're visualizing. And it's a whole process. It's kind of just how I start my day. So I always know that I had that. At least it can be 30 minutes. It can be 2 hours. As long as you always get it in before 8, then you can get going with your day. The other thing I always do is write 10 things that I want from my life. 3 of them will be something that I want personally from my family. 3 will be some things I want from my community, and 3 things that I want from my profession. And then we have one bonus one that's just pretty fun. And I write those 10 goals that I have each and every day. Just write them. When you start to write something, when you start to feel it, it embeds in the subconscious mind. So when I make my decisions personally, where am I spending my time, or at work, it is what I'm doing right now supporting any of those 10 goals? And if they're not, it goes off the table. Is that helpful?
Once again, listen to Refocus Radio and watching us online, talking to our special guest, Donna Kendrick. Go to our website, DonnaKendrick.com. When you look at how you've been able to scale, because it's one thing to have these great ideas, which are phenomenal ideas, but it's another situation where you're actually able to scale those ideas into something that's profitable and also serving in the best interest for you and your family. What are some of the hard knocks, pitfalls, if you will, that helped you to say, okay, do I really want this? And how were you able to navigate those chapters?
Ooh, it's a good one. One, when I started my practice, when I started working as a financial advisor, I had a 0 book of business, meaning no clients, nothing, just sitting there trying to make it work. And we have scaled and we have grown, and it's a very successful business now, and I'm proud of it. Some of the things that we did, again, staying very genuine to who I am, staying very genuine to my mission, which is to add a little love back out there and to help these families in transition, to make sure you're consistent with your message. What was the hardest thing for me is there's a phrase in my industry that is, if it fogs a mirror, it can be a client, right? Meaning if they're breathing, they can be a client. That didn't sit well with me at all. And one of the biggest decisions I had to do was to niche my client, to make sure that I wasn't a generalist. I was really working with my widows, my divorcees, and my blended families, people whose tomorrow feels very different than their today, and they weren't ready for it. Or maybe they were. Well, that's planning. But when I niched my market and I stayed very focused in who I served, who was my marketing, and to be able to say no to some clients because they didn't fit in that parameter, that was freeing. The other part of scaling that I didn't realize is having enough mindset, self-confidence in myself that I'm worth it. After Craig's suicide, there was a big feeling in me on that year too of I'm not worth being alive for. And I've shared that openly just a few weeks ago. And it's a hard one to say, but that's that big demon I had to get out of my own way. I would never tell my kids, Daddy took his life because you weren't worth staying alive for. I wouldn't say that to them. So why would I say it to me? But I carried it for those 2 years. I let go of that. And then saying, no, I'm worth this, and I'm smart, and I'm educated, and I really can serve in a different way. So getting your mindset, really important. Once that mindset is fixed, charging what you're worth. You can find a way to give to the community. My book is out there. It's not very expensive. Tons of free copies many times when I go out, right? I'll leave them at events. Just say, if you know someone this can help, please take it. We have a podcast too. That's free resources, tons of free resources on our websites, things that are downloadable. That's how I can serve all the time, right? But when I'm actually working in my industry, I can charge what I'm worth. I can charge for my hours. So don't ever undermine what you are worth in either your time, your value, or what you charge in your business. So once I niche my market, got my mindset straight, and charged appropriately, that's when scalable business took off. The other thing to remember is when you're doing everything in your business, it's time to hire. It's time to hire even before that. So when you get to those 14-hour days, 16-hour days, Grit is grit, hustle is hustle, but it might be time to hire a VA. It might be time to hire another agent. It might be time to just hire someone to help pick up your kids so you can spend more time at work. Hire before you're ready, and then you can scale.
I like how you said earlier about it's one thing to think about manifest, but you got to understand that only happens as you are in the paint, working day in, day out, and doing your part. But I also appreciate what you said moments ago about delegation, because delegating tasks to other people that will help you carry out your vision, that's another thing. So for our audience, those who are maybe they don't know much about being a business owner. Maybe they're thinking about making a relaunch in their career or jump deep into the ocean and start their own business. What would you say, even though everyone's story is different, what would you say would be some good fundamental practices, if you will, of how you can prepare yourself mentally when you're ready to make that jump?
One, make sure you understand your own personal finances. Understand that you have, let's hope, some cash reserve in the back. You'll make better decisions when you know that you have a little cash to fall back on. I knew I could give myself 2 years in this industry, and if I couldn't make X amount of dollars, I was out. Like, I had to go do something else. I knew I could earn that on a regular corporate W-2 job, but I wanted to try this entrepreneurship thing. That's really important. The other thing is find out who's done what you want to do and study them. If there's someone, if you want to be a realtor, find that top realtor in your community. How did they learn the business? Ask to shadow them for a day. We call them centers of influences. Find those centers of influences and engage with them maybe for a year or two before you even launch your business. I was having lunches, coffees, and long walks with the people I thought were my ideal clients when I didn't even have a license and I didn't even have a business. If I was to go into this business, what would a financial advisor if you would have been like, oh my God, that person helped me so much. What were the roles this person would have done? Where do you feel so lost when you were there? I did all of that data collection to make sure I knew exactly that person I wanted to serve. So I say, see who's done what you want to do and take a deep dive. Follow them. Let them write that script and then make it your own.
When you see how powerful an idea can shape itself out, because from personal experience, when you dream big and you launch, the scary part is what happens after, ... Okay. What happens when things get quiet? What happens when things are not clicking? Or what happens when you reach that milestone, but you almost have to reinvent yourself to refresh yourself, but not change your course or your mission, but just to kind of keep yourself up with times. When you look at how, going back to my first point, how powerful ideas are, but how important it is to continue to work it through. What has experience taught you personally? Because, yeah, it's easy to be on a show and talk about all the greatness you have, but for someone watching us or listening to us, they might be nervous to just meet people, versus in person or online. So how were you able to just learn from all your experiences professionally to get to the next level for yourself?
I mean, I think a lot of that is life is ever changing. It is. And you have to be ready for those changes. I call them stop bumps. Some of them are opportunities. And I really do wake up every morning saying, what do I have today? What can I do in my next best minute? What has helped me scale and evolve is forgiving myself for yesterday. Whether I did it great or I didn't do it great, it's yesterday. I can't do anything with what God's done and what someone else has done. I can only do what I've done. I can only change me. That is free. And that's my advice. Just take today and do exactly what you feel called to do in your belly and follow it. Yep.
Once again, you're listening and watching this online on Refocus Radio, talking to our special guest, Donna Jean Kendrick, or her website, donnajeankendrick.com. I want to give you a chance to talk about the books you got coming out in the future. You have one, a guide through divorce. You have a guide for family finance. And you also have a guide for entrepreneurial finance. What's some teasers, if you will, that you can share with our audience on what you're working on?
Well, the guide to divorce, we kind of talked about that one already. We'll get there. And the guide to the family finances, I find so much that we as adults are running through this life with, we call it money mindset, from what our parents had. Like, how did we see our parents with money, right? That they learned from the generation before. For myself, that was the Depression era, right? So yeah, there might be money hidden under a mattress at my parents' house. Like, where is it? It's actually in the freezer. So if everything burns, that won't burn to the ground. Like, this is it. So how do we really learn? Because today's day and age is different. I have kids 15 to 23. They don't really even know how to count coins. They've only lived in the digital age. So how do we really teach finances to our kids? How do we talk about them as humans coming from two different family viewpoints of life? How do we talk about that at an early age? And how do we teach our next generation so they have a healthy respect for money, for cash reserve, for having money to do this opportunity? Because entrepreneurship in my mind is freedom. And I love that for just about anybody. Oh, and then the last book.
Okay.
No, that's just going to be a fun one. Don't worry. It's going to be a good one.
I was going to say, when you said the word freedom, I'm taking an online class of philosophy from Hillsdale College. And one thing I understand is, if you feel like you know everything, that's a red flag, because I'd rather be the person to ask more questions than to be the person that thinks they know everything. What about you as you're pursuing your business world and professionalism? How do you continuously try to look for additional resources to polish what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is really just asking. A lot of it is asking our current clients and asking who we want to be our potential clients. Where is your need, right? And then moving our business model to meet that need. One of the biggest successes of my business was COVID. Why? Not because people were losing spouses, because we used to see everybody in person in the tri-state area. I'm from Philadelphia, so it was New Jersey, New York, maybe Delaware, and PA. That was it. And then here comes 2020, and now we can use Zoom. We could use any other secure sites to meet with clients confidentially. And so I can meet a widow that I've met on a podcast or in a Facebook group who lives in Washington State. And if I'm licensed in Washington State, which can happen with reciprocity, they can be my client. So my love and my practice now went beyond the state borders. So I would never have thought that in 2017 when I was trying to build the zero book of business. But when 2020 hit, to be there, to be present, and then how do you reach these audiences? Where is the need and how do you meet it? Be willing to let go of the framework of your business if you have to. Keep some cores and move with the times. Be the first one there. Be the one to try it. That's how you're going to expand and grow. And if you stay in one place, you won't. So always have to be ready to expand and grow. Bringing on talent that might be a generation below me. Not saying my own kids, they got to earn it, but bringing on talent that would be able to really talk to that generation, right? Because I'm a mom. They'll look at me as a mom all the time. Someone of their own level, educated with the experience from those above. That's mentoring, and I can't wait for more.
Well, I appreciate you spending some time with us, talking to us today, our audience. I want to hit on the last point of you talking about expand and grow. If someone is watching us and listening to us and want to just reach out to you and figure out more information before they can see if they'd be a good fit to be your client, what's the best way they can stay up to date on all the information and contact you when they're ready?
Yeah, definitely. Go to that website, the DonnaJeanKendrick.com. On there, you'll find links to all of our social media, our podcast, Widow, Wisdom, and Wealth. You'll be able to see the books and a ton of available resources. There's always ways to contact me through that website, through emails. And that is, hello@DonnaJeanKendrick.com. We will get back to you. We will engage. We'll have a chat. We'll see how we can put you in the right direction.
Well, like I always want to say to Donna, like always, man, thank you for your time and spending some time with us today on a holiday. So appreciate you doing that for us.
Thank you. Market's closed. I'm very relaxed today. Thank you. It's been a little volatile, but thank you so much.